Buncombe County has its first COVID-19 death in a long-term care facility. What county and state health officials are doing to help these facilities that are at risk. And in Hendersonville, closing down to help businesses open up. How the city may block Main Street to get people coming back safely during the pandemic.
As a researcher and as a parent, I really see that going back to school confidently in the fall is critical.
Plus, back to school this fall. What researchers with one university say has to happen. Are you taking your child to the doctor's office less often to protect them? Why that may be harmful. Also tonight, the way a bar is promoting social distancing. News 13 on My 40 at 10 starts right now.
Now, from Western North Carolina's news leader, this is News 13 on My 40.
First tonight, we are headed into another weather-worn day. The concern, flooding. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Jason Boyer for what you need to know. Jason?
Tammy, it is going to get a lot wetter around here. We've already seen several rounds of heavy rain come through today, and with additional rounds anticipated tomorrow and through Wednesday, we are going to continue the weather-worn days now through Wednesday. So that's 3 days in a row we're going to have weather-worn days in store. Periods of heavy rain, flooding, and mudslides will become more likely as the heavy rain adds up and the ground saturates. There's still the potential for some isolated severe storms, but it's a low risk. Really, the idea is flooding is our biggest risk overall in the mountains. You'll see those flash flood watches out for many counties in the mountains. It doesn't include everybody in western North Carolina, but it is certainly from Buncombe, Henderson, Transylvania on eastward into the foothills and southward into the upstate. Several counties there also into that flash flood watch, which goes until 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So this is a prolonged event. There's some heavy rain now moving right back into the upstate. It's been Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, Greenville County, now stretching into Jackson. All of this is headed into Transylvania, Henderson, eventually Buncombe, and there's more rounds to come over the course of the next couple of days. So heavy rain will be the story. There's that round coming through tonight, and then another round into the morning, some moderate to heavy rain around the area. We might get a break or two, but then more rain into the afternoon tomorrow, and it looks like Wednesday is going to bring even more rain than what you see there. So if you're out and about early in the morning, rise and shine forecast is certainly going to be wet for most. Temperatures mild in the 60s, but overall the pattern is going to be cool. I'll show you how many days we'll have to deal with some cool weather. Stick around.
Most mountain counties reported new COVID-19 cases over the weekend. Buncombe County saw the biggest jump, climbing to 176 cases. Officials say Transylvania's 8th case is a preschool-aged child, and Henderson County still has the most cases in our area at 283. Buncombe County is now reporting its first COVID-19 death at a long-term care facility. County officials say they are monitoring outbreaks at 4 of these types of facilities. News 13's Caitlin Pinter has been following the story, and so far we know the names of 2 of the homes with the outbreaks.
Yes, the Aston Park Healthcare Center and the Deerfield Retirement Episcopal Skilled Nursing Home. County officials say we should have the names of the other 2 long-term care facilities tomorrow or Thursday. Interim Public Health Director Dr. Jennifer Mullendorf says they are going beyond state recommendations when it comes to testing at long-term care facilities. She says they are working to test all staff and residents every week until there are no new cases, and says 1,000 tests were done today. Dr. Mullendorf says they are working with other agencies to help these facilities.
We are working with Buncombe County Emergency Management and Asheville Fire Department to assist long-term care facilities with testing, guidance, and to provide personal protective equipment if a need has been identified.
Governor Cooper announced at his press conference today that the state will be giving out personal protective equipment packs to all long-term care facilities in the state. He said it will be a 14-day supply of face shields, procedure masks, gloves, and shoe covers. According to the State Department of Health and Human Services, there are now nearly 400 reported deaths at residential care facilities and nursing homes across the state of North Carolina. And coming up at 11, what the state is doing to fight COVID-19 at these facilities. In Asheville, Caitlin Pinter, News 13.
Asheville police issues a citation to a restaurant. The Rise and Shine Cafe opened up for dine-in business. That defies Governor Roy Cooper's executive order. Representatives with the Asheville Police Department told us that officers could issue another citation tomorrow if the restaurant remains open, but they tell News 13 only the health department has jurisdiction over whether the restaurant has to be shut down. One mountain city takes the lead in trying to breathe some life into its COVID-19 shattered economy. Hendersonville City Council votes to expand outdoor dining space and hold an open streets festival for the final weekend of this month. But as News 13's Frank Crocker explains, it was a decision that did not come easy.
A special meeting, 2 council members attending online. The topic, how to get people back to a place virtually shut down by the pandemic. The most sweeping proposal, close Main Street from 7th Avenue to Allen. That would open things up for restaurant owners. A lot more seating outside in the summer. Weekends only.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council.
Council saw 2 other options. Expand restaurant seating into where some parking spaces are now, or additional seating along some sidewalk areas.
I would rather go big first and see how it works, because you're going to be encouraging the most number of people to come into downtown.
But not everyone saw going big right off the bat as the right thing to do, with less room to walk and shop.
The whole purpose of this isn't just to save restaurants, it's to draw foot traffic. Foot traffic spends money.
Locals love the sidewalk dining. Yeah, so it will be popular with everyone.
Matt Johns owns Hannah Flanagan's Pub and Eatery, a longtime fixture on Main Street. Matt believes something has to happen, but also that the pandemic must dictate how quickly.
We just don't know how busy we're going to be when we reopen. We don't know what the public is going to do, whether they're going to feel safe, but there's going to be a lot we have to figure out on the fly.
That's what city leaders say they'll be doing too. A 30-day experiment, staying open to change. Closures may be coming later. For now, it's expanded sidewalk dining as soon as possible. An open Main Street event, the final weekend of this month. It may be named after what's been the city's comeback motto all along. That's Love Hendo. Frank Crocker, News 13.
President Trump makes a surprise announcement today about a controversial drug while meeting with members of the hard-hit restaurant industry. As reporter Karen Kafa tells us, the number of confirmed cases is now past 1.5 million.
President Trump said Monday he's negative for COVID-19, but asked the White House doctor for permission to take hydroxychloroquine.
A couple of weeks ago, I started taking it because I think it's good. I've heard a lot of good stories.
A recent study, the largest of its kind, showed that the drug, effective against malaria, is not effective against COVID-19 and could cause heart problems.
The truth is that the science says this is not a good thing to have. Leave it for people who need it, for the conditions where it has been shown to be safe and effective. Don't go and get it for this.
The president making the statement during a meeting with leaders from the hard-hit restaurant industry as more states allow them to reopen dining rooms.
We want to take care of our employees and make sure they're safe. Same activation we're having when opening the restaurants. We want to open the restaurants safely, make sure our employees are safe first, so our guests can be safe.
Every state in the country will have loosened coronavirus restrictions by the end of this week, with the last 2, Connecticut and Massachusetts, announcing steps Monday.
The public health metrics that guide this process mean it's possible to reopening manufacturing facilities and construction sites effective today.
The U.S. coronavirus death toll passed 90,000 on Monday per a Johns Hopkins count. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
A local doctor talks about a promising new vaccine for COVID-19. Plus, could schools reopen this fall? One researcher says they should, but says the federal government needs to do something in order for that to happen. The local medical community is weighing in on the promises of a possible new vaccine. Today, the manufacturer of Moderna announced that the vaccine appears to be safe and able to stimulate an immune response. Now, it's the first vaccine to be tested in people. Mission's chief medical officer says it's good news, but that we should be cautious about getting our hopes up.
Yeah, right now we know that they can produce antibodies, but we don't know if they're going to be able to fight off infection or whether it's going to be effective.
Dr. Hathaway says this type of vaccine has never worked like this in the past. He says it's different because it doesn't use a live or dead virus, instead part of the virus's genetic material. He says he would be surprised if a vaccine hit the market by early next year, adding that if the vaccine is rushed out, it could be unsafe. Americans may be avoiding doctors' offices these days for routine visits because of COVID-19, but that means fewer children are getting vaccinated. Here's Melissa Rainey with tonight's Health Minute.
Everyone is waiting for the day when there is a vaccine for the coronavirus in hopes that things will start going back to normal. Unfortunately, while we wait, many parents are avoiding other vaccines. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there has been a notable decrease in childhood vaccines ordered through the federal program that immunizes half of the country's children. The drop began the week after President Trump declared a national emergency due to the COVID-19 outbreak. In Washington state, the state health department saw a 30% drop in childhood vaccines in March, and preliminary data shows a 42% decrease in April. The CDC says while it might not be an issue now, once social distancing is relaxed, those who aren't immunized will once again be at risk. The American Academy of Pediatrics says if children are not getting their regular vaccines, they are likely missing other important checkups like developmental screenings. They're urging pediatricians and parents to stay on top of it and reassuring nervous parents that it's safe to visit their doctor. For today's Health Minute, I'm Melissa Rainey.
We are expecting a lot of rain over the next few days, and we have at least 2 weather-warned days in the forecast. Jason Boyer is standing by with an update. Jason?
Yeah, Tammy, it has been a wet day, and it's also been a cooler than average day. If you look at the month of May, we're well past the halfway point. Today's high only 68 degrees after what a run it was. 77 on Thursday, 79 Friday, and 80s this past weekend. We'll get back to those 80s, but it's going to take some time. We'll talk more about this. Rain and thunderstorms, flooding threat, mudslide risks as well, and when it's going to get a lot drier and warmer down the road. Stick around for that.
An update tonight on a double homicide. Asheville police have charged a juvenile with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. 23-year-old Javon Brown and 19-year-old Deontay Ellison were found shot to death May 8th on Merriman Avenue. 2 other men were seen running from their crashed car at the corner of Merriman Avenue and Chestnut Street. Investigators are still following up on a number of those leads. New research suggests hurricanes and other storms are likely to get even stronger as the Earth gets warmer. Researchers tracked 4 decades worth of satellite data on global storms. Over that period, the chance of storms becoming major hurricanes grew by 8% every decade. Earlier studies have shown the same trend, but did not go far back enough to connect stronger storms to climate change. People in a mountain community are bracing for possible flooding. Anyone living along flood-prone areas in McDowell County needs to make sure they have a way to get their warnings. The emergency manager says he's most worried about the northwestern part of the county. Now, that includes communities like Old Fort that still have flood damage from 2 years ago. The county's emergency manager says the COVID-19 crisis already has his staff on full alert.
The number one issue we see during flash flooding is people disregard road closures and drive around barricades. That not only threatens your life, but it also threatens the lives of first responders who are called upon to perform a swiftwater rescue.
In addition to the foothills, the southern mountains are expected to get heavy rain too.
Skywatch Weather, sponsored by Ingalls.
Yeah, it is a shame that the rain we typically get now seems to come in bunches. It doesn't just come in kind of small doses. Well, it's going to be a bunch here over the next 3 days. Let's start you out with a view here over the foothills. It's McDowell, Burke, Rutherford, also Polk County into Yancey, Mitchell, and Avery. This is the zone that I'm most concerned with at this point. It looks like the heaviest rains will add up more quickly here, and this is where the flooding might be a bigger issue in the McDowell County, Burke County, and these areas of Rutherford and Polk County. So the Catawba River, which of course is due to the runoff from the Black Mountains down into McDowell County, is certainly going to be a problem down the road here. We're watching for more rain to move in these areas overnight. Right now you're getting kind of a break, but there's more rain to come. Here it is in the French Broad River Valley. Flash flood watches out for Buncombe, Henderson, and Transylvania County, and there's the heavier rain starting to move back in following I-26 up from the south, and this is an area that could see more flooding too down the road the next few days. Even though you're not in those flood watches out in the southwestern mountains, it doesn't mean you're going to miss out on the rain. It just means that the rain overall is not going to be as heavy and certainly won't add up to as much because the break will come for you certainly tomorrow into early Wednesday. Bigger picture, we have an upper area low pressure that's spinning over Illinois. It's driving that rain into our area and will continue to tap into the Gulf of Mexico and throw that moisture our way. And with the orographics or the mountainous terrain, it is going to aid in the formation of more heavy rain and concentrating it eastern continental divide east of I-26. So watch as this plays out. There's the futurecast. Later on tonight, some heavy rain. That's the round coming through now. And then into the morning, another round of some moderate to heavy rain in the offing for many, especially the French Broad River Valley eastward. There's the afternoon hours, more rain, and yep, you see more yellow and orange showing up into Wednesday, and that is going to spell even greater risk for flash flooding, especially east. And then eventually things will start to calm down into Thursday and Friday, but not completely calm anytime soon. Low risk for flash flooding in the green, a slight risk for flash flooding in the yellow tomorrow, and a moderate risk or higher end risk for those areas in red. That includes Asheville, Brevard, Hendersonville, Rutherfordton, Marion, Old Fort into southern Yancey County. So there it is tomorrow, and that same zone is going to be prime for some flooding concerns again on Wednesday. This is the European model taking us through Thursday evening, late evening. Could add up to more than 5 or 7 inches east of I-26 when it's said and done. Asheville itself probably picks up between about 2 and 4 inches on the high end. In the yard forecast, temperature-wise, it's going to be mild, but it's not going to be the greatest day to be out in the yard or garden because it's going to be very wet at times. Heavy downpours certainly dampening things for us. Temperatures tonight, 50s and 60s around the mountains, mild for this time of the year. We'll see 60s over the upstate, but because of the clouds and showers tomorrow, we're just not going to warm very much. Even though we do get into the 60s and 70s, it's still shy of average for almost all these locations this time of the year. A couple of weather-worn days ahead, Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at Wednesday's high, only 59 degrees after a morning low of lower 50s, so we're not going to move our temperatures much at all on Wednesday. Then we start to move our temperatures upward Thursday into Friday. Friday back to the 70s. The weekend will bring some chances of showers and storms. I'm thinking scattered showers and storms, mainly afternoon and evening early on. It's not going to wash out the weekend, so don't cancel any outdoor plans. Certainly expect some rain in some areas. In the upstate, a couple of weather-worn days for you before you start to dry out and really warm up into the holiday weekend. That wraps it up for me. Back to you.
The big question for students and teachers, will it be safe for students to return to the classroom this fall? A group of researchers is calling on the federal government to fund additional studies to look into it. Reporter Liz Ortaz explains why they say this research is so critical.
When it comes to COVID-19 and children, doctors are still looking for answers. Answers they hope can help schools make informed decisions about reopening.
As a researcher and as a parent, I really see that going back to school confidently in the fall is critical.
Dr. Tara Sell is a senior scholar at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. She is one of the authors of a new report called Filling in the Blanks. National research needs to guide decisions about reopening schools in the United States.
The report calls for a national mandate to prioritize and fund research. And in doing that, we walk through what's known in the science about kids and COVID, and also what other countries are doing right now as they go back to school so that we can learn those lessons.
Specifically, researchers want to know more about transmission and the potential risks of students and teachers returning to the classroom.
We know that kids are not generally affected as severely as adults. They seem to get sick or severely sick much less often. And have severe outcomes much less often. And so we really just need to know how transmissible is this disease from kids to those vulnerable adults.
The report also calls for the creation of a national advisory board made up of pediatric, public health, and educational researchers who can regularly review the science.
I don't want to say that this research needs to be done and it needs to be completed in order for any children to go back to school, but we need to start to make progress on this. Not all the results are going to be done by the time we need to make decisions about the fall, but we will learn a lot more in the next month when we see what happens in Europe with their schools.
City of Asheville employees from police to firefighters will be tested for COVID-19. Asheville's mayor confirms that all essential staff interacting with the public since the outbreak began will be tested. The essential workers will also get the COVID antibody test to see if they've had the virus. Paramedics, health staff, public works, and water department staff are also included.
This is going to be able to provide very important information for our employees and for their families, and it will allow us to be able to understand what level of impact that our employees have had in this pandemic so far.
The plan is to start testing in the next few weeks. The mayor says the goal is to test all sworn officers, firefighters, and essential city staff based on their work assignments. The city is also considering testing all city employees. Parts of Harris Cherokee casinos open today. First to reopen the gaming floor, hotel, and some restaurants where social distancing can take place. There will also be limitations on the number of people inside. The reopening calls for only small, invited groups of customers into the hotel and onto the gaming floor. The spa, valet, poker, buffet, and concerts remain closed. Some argue it's too soon to reopen. Others say the casino is needed to help surrounding businesses. It has been 8 years since insider trading became a crime for members of Congress. National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports on why the question is back in the spotlight on Capitol Hill.
Senator Richard Burr has stepped away from his post as Intelligence Committee chairman as a federal investigation plays out into a major sell-off of stocks he made on the heels of the coronavirus crisis. 1 week later, the stock market plummeted. Questions also raised about trades made by Senators Kelly Loeffler, Jim Inhofe, and Dianne Feinstein's husband.
Did somebody have access to market-moving information before anybody else did? Did they make some unusual trades that they had not made before?
Author Peter Schweitzer's 2011 book, Throw Them All Out, exposed the trend of insider trading in Congress.
It's not illegal.
He talked about his findings on 60 Minutes.
We know that during the financial crisis of 2008, they were getting out of the market before the rest of America really knew what was going on.
After this and other reports, Congress came together to pass the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge, or STOCK Act.
The STOCK Act makes it clear that if members of Congress use non-public information to gain an unfair advantage in the market, then they are breaking the law.
But 8 years later, not a single member of Congress has been prosecuted under the law. And in fact, a year after it passed, some amendments were made to it by Congress that quietly rolled back some of its power.
It softened the language about what insider trading was, and it also softened the reporting requirements that members of Congress and staffs had to report in terms of the stock trades that they were making.
Schweitzer warns the law as it stands is far too weak, especially as lawmakers work now to steer legislation in the wake of the coronavirus.
These same legislators are crafting these massive bailout bills that are going to benefit certain industries, and they are free to trade stock in the same companies that they are writing legislation for to bail out.
He says a new law may be needed to further restrict the ability of lawmakers to own stock at all. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
The VA releases a new app designed to help veterans cope with the stress of the pandemic. It's called the COVID Coach app. It includes resources that can track a person's well-being, mood swings, and PTSD symptoms. There's also a personal goal tracker. Each of those comes with direct links to resources for people who may need additional support.
It's very intuitive and has a really great visual presentation, so it's easy to use.
We know mental health, mental wellness matters for everybody at all times. This time going through this pandemic just heightens that.
Anyone with a mobile device can download the app. Just search for COVID Coach. After the break, what one bar has come up with to promote social distancing. Check this out. Fishtails Pub in Ocean City, Maryland bought these bumper tables for customers. It's a way to practice social distancing Once bars and got a bump there. Once bars and restaurants are back open, the tables are custom made with an inner tube and wheels, and they guarantee to keep customers 6 feet apart. Customers stand in the middle and can walk around and chat while maintaining a safe distance. One of the owners says they're in talks with other businesses to produce bumper tables for them. We'll see how that works. A big arts and crafts festival had to go virtual this year. So one artist in Michigan decided to use a drive-through art sale. Customers didn't have to leave their cars to see or buy the art. The artist says he depends on the festivals for income, but he says it's about more than just the money.
Really, I only make these to maybe make the world a little bit better. And that doesn't necessarily mean that someone's got to buy them.
Unfortunately, Jason says he will be moving out of his studio because he just can't afford it anymore. We certainly do wish him the best of luck. A lot of folks out there losing their jobs and having to shuffle and rearrange. We certainly wish them the best of luck too. Well, thank you for watching. More news is coming up at 11 on ABC 13. And remember, you can always get updates on Facebook, Twitter, and WLOS.com. Daily Mail TV is next. Stay safe out there. We'll see you again at 11.